This is The Boys podcast from TV Podcast Industries. We're talking about The Boys Season 2, Episode 3, Over the Hill with the Swords of 1,000 Men.
Huey's not gonna make it. And you need that kid. More than any one of us. He's your canary.
What canary?
You let your canary die? How you gonna know when you've gone too far?
Welcome back, boys and girls. This is TV Podcast Industries. We're talking about The Boys Season 2, Episode 3, Over the Hill with the Swords of 1,000 Men. Hoorah, 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 hey. I'm one of your hosts, Derek.
Anywho, fellow boys and girls, we're on our third wind at the moment. I am one of your other hosts, John.
And rounding out this trio of men, I am the man with 1,000 swords in my pants. No, because that would just be really weird.
Yes, it would.
It would be very
I'm Chris,
weird.
sorry, by the way. Hello.
That is an image I did not want at the start of our third podcast.
Well,
Exactly.
I was trying to think. Okay, it's Over the Hill with Swords of 1,000 Men. So, technically, it's somewhere between 1,000 swords and 2,000 swords.
Yes.
Because men could only hold, unless you've got like these men that can like have swords on their feet, or like kind of like Popclaw, maybe.
Yeah. Or maybe
Like,
they only
there's
had
something-
2 swords between 1,000 men and they all shared
Could
them.
be. Oh my god! So it could be between 2 and 2,000. Maybe there's one guy like that's like just really over prepared, and he's just like bundled with like he's got 1,000 swords on his back, like a turtle shell.
Game of Thrones, yeah, kind of thing.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Soldered to his back or something like that. Yeah.
Well, it does bring us to a point that I forgot to mention in the last 2 episodes. The first season of The Boys, every episode was named after a title of one of the sections of the comic series, one of the arcs of the comics run for The Boys. But they were also named after songs, named after famous songs. This episode is named after a song from the early 80s, late 70s, a punk song by the band Ten Pole Tudor. So have a listen to the song. If you're as old as I am, you will definitely recognize it. It played quite regularly on my radio station when I was a kid. So that is where my hoorah, hoorah, hoorah came from earlier on, just in case anybody doesn't know the song and was wondering why the hell I said that. That's from the original song. So there you go. Go listen to it. It's really good. Really good. Guys, want to say a big happy Labor Day to our American listeners. This weekend is a bank holiday over in the US. Where is the drought of entertainment that was predicted for the rest of the year earlier on this year?
I know.
My God, this weekend we had obviously all 3 episodes of The Boys came out. Mulan was released on Disney Plus. The Avengers game came out. Tony Hawk 1 and 2 came out yesterday as well. What else came out this weekend? There's so much entertainment that you just can't possibly fit it in, even with the 1 extra day you have as a bank holiday.
That's it. Yeah, Lovecraft Country as well. They released the episode early for episode 4.
Yeah. We'll have our review of that up over the weekend as well.
Yes, on Dreadful Podcast. It will also come out a little later on TV Podcast Industries. So, of course, you are more than welcome, fellow boys and girls, to tune in to our discussion of Lovecraft Country as well on HBO.
Yeah.
No, it's just that this drought is going to come at some point.
It is.
I don't know if it's going to be a drought. I think what the companies are doing now at this point is they already had everything set up for the year.
Yeah.
And I think it's going into 2021. Early 2021, the kind of first 6 months, that's where things will start to be spaced out more and more.
Yeah.
Because poor Bats, the filming on the Batman has been held. It has shut down production again because our Pats is COVID positive, according to Vanity Fair sources.
Variety, yes, right.
Variety.
Yeah.
Multiple variety sources.
But Matt Reeves has gone back to filming. He's just filming all the bits that Batman isn't in at the moment. So they have gone back to filming. It's just Robert Pattinson, unfortunately, is down with COVID for a few weeks. But that's a good thing because remember, it is Batman. So there are loads of scenes where he just walks out of the screen and everybody's left talking to themselves. Which, if there's one stable that you can use, it's Batman does disappear from scenes instantly. So
that is true.
A bit of dialogue going on with Robert Pattinson. They'll turn the camera away and then he's gone. So
you see, the thing is, with all this pandemic on the TV, I was kind of looking forward to that moment where TV studios, film studios had to root around in the bottom drawer of the filing cabinet for all those things that had actually been filmed and then had been canned because they were so awful or something. And so that we were going to get all this great kind of dross
B movies
and B movies that actually end up being great.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember back when we had Smallville? Just before that, they actually had a 2-part pilot that never was aired, but was actually released for Aquaman.
No, actually, no.
Yeah, there was this one where it was like he lived in islands near the kind of Barbados, things like that. It was kind of like, it was one of, I'm expecting that. We're going to get all these really weird, like 2-hour pilots that never went full to series to air, but they got the pilot, and that these could be good. Like Fantastic Five will suddenly just turn up and you were like, oh, I didn't even know they did that. Interesting.
You never know what could be available. But let's get into talking about our 3rd episode of The Boys Season 2, which was released yesterday. Episodes for The Boys come out every week now on, as they complete the rest of the series. They get released every Friday. Weird release schedule on Amazon Prime. It seems to appear at about midnight or 1 a.m. UK time, and seems to appear sometime in the early evening over in the US. So I don't really know what time it gets released, but we will be here with our coverage every week for The Boys from now on.
Yes. But make sure you don't miss it by going over to tvpodcastindustries.com and subscribing on every good or Vought affiliated podcast catcher. You can leave us a review because, reviews help the world go round. Much like the one and only Chimom 100? Chimom 100? I'm not quite sure. But they had left us a review over on Apple Podcasts, and it had this to say: mystified by some TV shows? Listen here for fun and intelligent discussions. Derek, John, and Chris, hey, why am I last? Will intelligently discuss your favorite TV shows and help you make sense of them. Yes, I said discuss, not recap. If you are looking for intelligent, interactive, and humorous discussions of different shows, look no further. They cover a variety of shows: Watchmen, The Boys, The Witcher, Star Trek Picard, The Umbrella Academy, Lovecast Country, and on and on. The guys also have fun contests that go along with the series. 3 Irish guys, no profanity, and informative podcasting. What more could you want? Tune in to TV Podcast Industries. Thank you so much, Shimon 100. That was really appreciated. And yeah, love that review.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks so much for the review. We did also read this out over on Lovecraft Country, but we wanted to make sure that Chris also got to hear your lovely review of our podcast. And just to repeat what Shimon said there, 3 Irish guys, no profanity. So,
damn it! There is profanity. It's just edited out.
Yeah, well, I will say, Chimam, I'm trying really, really hard to even finding clips of the show to put at the start of our episodes that don't have profanity in them is proving almost impossible for both shows we're covering at the moment. Lovecraft Country also is very sweary.
Yeah, it is really tough for the boys to cut out the profanity for sure. Yeah. And Chris, the only reason you were last in that list is because you're rounding out the group.
I just assumed she was saving the best for last.
No one does that anymore.
Okay. No.
That's an old saying.
Before.
Always have the best first.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yes, thank you for leaving a review. It really does help our podcast. If you would like to help keep the lights on, the podcast motors going, you can also head on over to patreon.com/TV Podcast Industry and support us for $1 or more, €1, $1, a penny, a pound. Please, sir, more. Just anything you have available. Much like Oliver, that's as much shilling as we will do, but we really appreciate any support. It helped me get this fantastic mic so I sound even better. And the ASMR podcast will be coming later. But over the course of the release of The Boys, episode 1, season 2, I did get contacted by Dr. Bob Phillips, one of our fellow boys and girls, who asked, oh God, will Chris be doing a rendition of the Translucent Man eulogy? Do you know what? I actually did the stunning rendition, and it was just so good. We almost got a copyright strike on the podcast, which is just impossible. Unheard of. But it was that good. So unfortunately, I did do it. It will never air I'm sorry.
It's now on the dark web, unfortunately. And I think it's slowly destroying and deconstructing the dark web as people listen to it. Then, yes, the dark web is being destroyed.
It's much like the joke that kills in Monty Python. It's just it's kind of joke that where anyone who listens to it, they die. It's just like that song. I'm pretty sure it's a horror film now. It's the premise. But anyway, enough of crazy ramblings. Let's jump on to The Boys, episode 3, Over the Hill with Swords of a Thousand Men. Derek, do you want to tell us who gave us what?
Yes, this episode was directed by Steve Boyum. He used to be a stuntman in multiple movies. He did The Blues Brothers, Apocalypse Now, and Predator.
Wow,
when he
cool.
was a stuntman. So he's been around for quite a long time doing stunts, but he has moved on to directing a bunch of TV shows for many, many years now. But should really mention, he directed 9 episodes of Supernatural. So that's obviously where he met showrunner Eric Kripke.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Stuntman turns director. I like that career path.
Yeah.
He must get the actors to really push it on the stunts.
I was going to say that if you guys have forgotten, over on Amazon Prime, they have this feature called X-Ray where you can see some interesting tidbits about the episodes that you're watching. For this episode, for episode 3, they were saying that the director, Steve Boyum, was actually in the helicopter with the pilot. During that scene where the helicopter is facing off against the boat, because he wanted to give him some guidance of how to do the stunt, of how to drive the helicopter, and wanted to get the best shot out of him possible. So he was actually in the helicopter. I think that's cool.
That is pretty cool.
Do you think he was on the boat when it rammed into Lucy?
No, because we saw everybody on that boat, and it was actually driven by Carl Urban. So that was not a stunt driver. That whole scene was Billy Butcher actually driving the boat, and apparently all the cast were terrified because he was driving very, very fast.
Excellent.
That sounds
stuff.
right. Okay, that sounds right.
There you go. But the episode was written by Craig Rosenberg. He's written episode 4 and episode 7 of season 1 of The Boys, and also wrote 4 episodes of Preacher as well. There you go, Chris.
Yes, I remember talking about him. They're good episodes that he wrote on Preacher.
Yeah, excellent. Well, John, do you want to tell us what they gave us with your synopsis for episode 3 of season 2 of The Boys?
Sure. Shiver me timbers, fellow boys and girls. The boys are on an ocean wave as they continue to keep a low profile from law enforcement and safeguard their super terrorist, Kamiko's brother Kenji. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, Daddy Homelander plays fun family with Becca and Ryan as he joins them for breakfast and teaches Ryan the art of flying gracefully. At Vought, the fan has been hit with the release of Compound V and its real use to the media. To distract the baying press, the Seven have a whale of a time on the hunt for the boys and the supervillain. With the boys cornered in a storm drain by the Seven, Starlight is forced to make an impossible choice, while Stormfront reveals her true character, the evilest evil in all of evil.
Nice one, John. Got to keep that going for the rest of the series, I think.
It still makes me laugh.
Yeah. The evilest evil in all of evil. I like it.
We're the podcastiest podcast in all of podcast.
Do you know that's actually what I wrote for our season 2 synopsis when I put it out? I had it as join the podcastiest podcasters in all of podcasting. There you go. Let's get into our big moments from the episode. As we've mentioned for the last 2 episodes, we take our boys moment, which is our protagonist moment, the Seven moment, which is our antagonist moment, and then any other outstanding moment from the episode that we want to talk about as well, hopefully covering the whole episode. Chris, do you want to kick us off with your boys moment?
Sure. I'm going to take a very small one, just because I thought it was absolutely brilliant. But Huey is having a whale of a time. Yay! Puns ahoy!
Yeah, it was there for the taking.
Yeah, this just was fantastic. Like, they built this up so well. This, just literally the scene inside Lucy. Like, where he no longer has it in him to do anything else. But I wasn't expecting it, because we've seen how the episode grows, the arc of the episode, where you see kind of Huey is elated by the Compound V revelation, and Frenchie and MM are kind of like on his side, and everything seems to be better. He has this touching conversation with Annie. He leaves a message for her.
Yeah.
And
I have that written down as he has a touching conversation with Annie's voicemail.
Yes, well, that's true.
Which is very cute. It's little broken-hearted Huey, you know, that he broke up with the last season, and all this season you've seen him sitting on his own watching this video of the Billy Joel song, you know, where you know, when you have a broken heart, when you've broken up with your partner, and there's one song that just seems to strike that note with you that keeps you kind of level enough. That's what seems to be going on with Huey at the start of this episode. He's watching this video over and over again. I'm going to get my second wind sometime. I will get my second wind.
I'm going to say something. I did not know that was a real video.
Oh, really?
I did not know that was the real thing. So I just assumed because this guy, when I started the episode and it was all looked like that, and this guy just magically appears, I'm like, oh, this must be like one of the like early Vought superhero infused music videos. I thought it was a pun.
No.
Only later did I find out, because Billy Joel on Twitter tweeted about this, that his songs are in it and one of his videos. And I'm like, oh, wow. Okay, cool. I'm sorry, Billy Joel, the boss. I am sorry.
No, that's not Billy Joel. Billy Joel's not the boss. It's Bruce Springsteen.
Oh. Well, see, it shows you even worse.
Because this goes back to a joke from the first episode of season 1. This is the kind of joke about the fact that Huey's now in this really violent gang of the boys, and the music that he likes is kind of standard 80s pop, basically. It's pretty broad kind of strokes, whereas the guys are all into kind of punk music or rap music or rock music. He's into Billy Joel. So that's
and the
joke.
Spice Girls.
And the Spice Girls, yes. But that's Becca that's into the Spice Girls. Billy Butcher just likes them because she loves them. So. Yeah.
Yes, that's true.
There you go.
Anywho, it was just this lead up where you just see actually it's a great analogy for the first 3 episodes, right? I didn't know how they decided that it would they'd only release the first 3 and then move it on, but it's a perfect escalating path for the first 3 episodes.
Yeah.
Where you can see poor wee Huey, petite Huey, just like start to fray and fray and fray and fray. But then he gets these little upticks.
Yeah.
And that kind of just gives him enough energy to keep going slightly on. And then just when they hit Lucy and you get that Ace Ventura when nature calls scene of Butcher crawling out and then the rest of the world's still inside. He's just there. No, I'm done. And what we opened the podcast, which is, Huey's role is the canary. He is when he breaks, that is the canary in the coal mine. Like, that is your team is nearly done because you've pushed them too hard.
Yeah, it's the warning to Billy that he's gone as bad as the Soups have. If he ever pushes Huey to breaking point, then he's gone too far.
Definitely. Definitely. Like, I loved Huey's resignation here. This idea of him, certainly, in the carcass with the heart still beating, poor Lucy's heart, the last few beats sort of, is kind of the soundtrack to this resigned Huey. Those whale carcasses that then explode because of all the internal gases. I was just thinking if Huey stayed in till that moment where he's kind of like just the air pressure inside and he explodes.
Oh wow! I do not know those types of whale carcasses, John. No.
Yeah, because the kind of the internal gases and then they kind of just split
That's more
open.
if they were not pierced.
That's
by a
true.
Big thing and have a gaping hole in them.
Yeah,
Sure.
that is true.
Sealed.
That is true for sure. But I really liked that kind of resignation, and I really liked just that moment with Mother's Milk, where he's basically told Billy to run and jump. He's staying here, and Mother's Milk goes back in. And he says, "Well, if you're staying, I'm staying." And he's just like, you got me. And it has to come out of the carcass and fight another day. I'm really liking the Mother's Milk is the person here who's really kind of latching on to Huey to kind of keep him going and bring him along as well.
I think they're both helping as well. Like we do see Frenchie kind of going, 1 foot in front of the other. Huey, we need to move. The 7 are coming to kill them basically, and Huey's having this crisis of conscience or crisis of I can't go any further. And Frenchie's kind of like, okay, just 1 step at a time. We'll get there. Really good moments in here. Yeah.
No, just for me, I think it is, you touched on it, which is when Butcher has gone so far, Huey breaks. One of the interesting parts, and I'm going to pull in some of the comics, is that there's an element where Huey actually becomes as bad as Butcher. And I'm curious to see if they will actually try and break Huey similarly in this. Now, maybe it's not till season 3, but it's a really interesting thing, because I don't know if I can see, and this is no slight, Jack Quaid being as violent as Karl Urban, or being as a kind of like crazy and kind of just kind of like swearing and kind of just being that much of a-hole, if you will.
Like, it's certainly the casting of Jack Quaid in this role is the nerdy dude who occasionally has to do things that he doesn't want to do. Yeah. Like season 1, remember, he did blow up Translucent, you know? Yeah. He's the one that killed the soup, you know? Nobody else has killed the soup.
And he's the counterpoint, you know? The canary in the mine element is really good here. It's a good analogy for Huey. I would really like to see him kind of go crazy, and I think you kind of maybe get hints of that in his relationship with Billy. Like, you know, he punches Billy in this episode, and Billy makes him mad, and I think it's that idea that maybe anger will push him over into that, if they touch upon that, as you say, Chris.
Yeah. One final thing before we move on to the next point here. If you guys haven't seen the interview from the socially distant San Diego Comic-Con, where the entire team of the boys are interviewed about the series and they talk about the whale scene, it is hilarious seeing Eric Kripke talk about the fact that he went to production and said, can we build an actual scale model of a whale on a beach, which they did. That's all there on the side of the beach, and all of the team laughing about how much blood they got covered in for that 3 or 4 days worth of filming. It's hilarious. Watch it. I'm sure Aisha Tyler talks about it on the after show that's up on Amazon Prime, and I'm sure probably just as good, but seeing the entire team talking about it and laughing about the filming and the fact that production on Amazon Prime said it's okay to build this, whatever it was, 70-foot model of a whale on a beach and ram it with a boat. Hilarious. Really good stuff.
One thing I'll quickly just also say is don't worry about watching the after shows and things like that. Or any of if any of you watch trailers or if you've done anything like that, because everything shown so far in any of the marketing material is only up to episode 3.
Yeah.
John, what's your boys' protagonist moment?
Well, in the same way that the world, I suppose, is now split between pre and post COVID, I suppose this is pre whale death now, and this is the FU, the touching conversation between Frenchie and Kenji about his sister Kamiko. I think I've been calling Kenji Mouse in the last episode, but we saw from the subtitles his name is Kenji. I'd completely forgotten that if it had been mentioned previously. But I really like this conversation. Frenchie's trying to kind of help here. There's this idea, Kenji is, you really need to let me go. It feels like, there's an earlier moment with Kamiko and him where it's that awkwardness where Kamiko's basically saying, no, you're staying put, brother. I know you want to escape, leave and go and do, your terrorist thing against America, but you really need to stay. And here with, Frenchie, you get this, really interesting conversation about them having this private sign language between the two of them, so that only they can speak to one another or communicate to one another. I like the fact that Frenchie was asking for Kenji to tell him this,
to teach him,
and to teach him, when that would kind of ruin their kind of personal little language that they have going. And also that with the death of their parents, that was when Kamiko ultimately lost her ability to speak from the shock and of all of that.
That's right. Yeah, so he says that she never spoke again after her parents were murdered. Yeah. So I'm wondering, are we going to get a bit more of that story?
And that she maybe witnessed it, but I really kind of like this. But it ultimately ends on a big FU by Kenji, who's like, no, I'm not telling you anything. Yeah. It seemed like he was getting drawn in with Frenchie. Frenchie's using Homelander's energy drink as a way and food as a way to kind of get him to open up and to release all these secrets.
Great joke in there about the energy drink.
Yeah,
Like, why did you
exactly.
give him an energy drink? He's a superpowered individual. You've given him some energy to use his superpowers.
Yeah, so I really like that.
So can I ask a question?
Of course you can.
Thank you. I was going to anyway, but I appreciate the acknowledgement. So, is Frenchie's motivation powered by brotherly, sisterly, kind of platonic friendship? Or a friendship element? Or do you believe they might be trying to set up a more romantic element that he actually likes, quotes?
I thought in season 1 that there was a romantic element between the two of them, and it had been built up, and then it had the season ended and it hadn't gone there, kind of thing. So I think it's still on the table that there could be a romantic relationship between the two of them, but we know Frenchie had a partner in season 1. There was a girl that Cherie, that's it, Mon Cherie, that he was actually going out with, and he sent her off to protect her effectively.
She's in episode 1. We see her in the background when he is they're in the Haitian Kings. I don't know if it was actually the same actress, but it was they were styled the same way. So I would need to double check that, but definitely there is a female who looks like Moncherie with him when he is kind of dealing his arms in the Haitian background as Huey's walking through.
Back in episode 1, right.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm just actually confused.
But I suppose, unlike A-Train, who is constantly talking about his kids, that his daughter he wants to get back to, and talks about his wife all the way through the first season, and with Billy, we have his wife being really, really important to him, and him wanting to get back to Becca and wanting to save her. We don't really have that with Frenchie and Sherry. He talks about her a little bit in season 1, but she doesn't seem to be his primary partner that he's getting married to, or there's a big relationship there. So I don't think it'd be on the realms of the show for him and the female to get together, for Kamiko and himself to form a relationship in the future. But I think right now it's out of frustration. He hasn't been able to understand a word that she's trying to translate to him, even though they have got a little kind of vibe between the two of them that he kind of knows what's going on. But remember, earlier on this season, she was trying to tell him about the brother and couldn't get that information across. So at this moment, he's going, I have a key here. There's someone here that could teach me a way that I could have a proper conversation with Kamiko for the first time. You know, so whether it's a romantic relationship or not, it's a key to actually getting to understand Kamiko.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, for me, it feels more brotherly, sisterly at the moment. Not to say they wouldn't go any further, but it feels like it's just that he wants to understand her. He cares for her. He wants to protect her. And I think, you know, he's trying to say that as well here in this moment to Kenji, just that he likes his sister. He cares a lot about her, and wants to help her. And that it still doesn't connect in with Kenji, who gives a big FU. I think for me, finally on this, I loved that scene where Kenji brings the drink can over from the side. You know, he's managed to get a little pinky out through the gaffer tape and just pulls that over and dismantles it to cut through the stuff, and ultimately leads to him escaping, and that great scene on the boat where Billy Butcher shouting, grab his hands, as this anchor comes racing from the water, and obviously what happens with the helicopter at the hands of Kenji. And I think certainly his hands become a little signifier for a bit later on as to what happens to them, as they are so important to his superpower. But I really liked that moment. I also liked as well that with his escape and finding out that Frenchie had brought the energy drink, that they're all kind of like, stupid Frenchie. But
him and energy drinks, exactly.
But that's my that's kind of my moment. I kind of really like that, because I think still figuring out, you know, where Frenchie stands with Kamiko, and certainly it's going through that kind of arc at the moment within the show. So we'll see how that develops. But Derek, what's your boys moment for this episode?
I think we've already touched on mine. It was just about Billy Butcher saying sorry to Huey at the beginning of the episode. I love it because it shows the arrogance of Billy. It's like he walks out and goes, all right, we've had problems before, but I'm sorry. is everything fine? And that's it. Like, he thinks the fact that he's actually said the word to Huey means that everything's sorted now. Ends in a punch to the face from Huey. But I like the kind of antagonism between these two characters, even throughout the episode. Like, Huey's accomplished something massive here, with the help of Starlight, or Starlight's accomplished something massive with the help of Huey. He tells Billy, and Billy just kind of looks at him going, what? Keep your head on straight. We need to sort this out and get my wife back. Again, as we said before, Billy is leading this team to get what he wants, not leading this team to accomplish this massive goal that Huey, Mother's Milk, and Frenchie seem to want to accomplish. So they all think they've accomplished something. Billy just kind of walks away and says, yeah, whatever. But we do get another moment with the two of them later on in the episode where Billy has kind of recanted and is praising Huey for the work that he's done as well. So that was all just that's that point between those two characters after the antagonism that we saw earlier on in the episodes, where we're seeing a little bit of the mending of that relationship towards the end, anyway, of the episode.
Yeah, I love how kind of low key Billy Butcher does this in terms of the justification why he's saying sorry. That I was a little out of hand back at the van. And he's like, you threatened to kill him if he gets in his way again. It wasn't like, you know, you were going to withhold sort of pocket money from him or something. Yeah. But it was just, I loved that. And then obviously, Huey throws that punch and he's like, he's gone stark raving.
Exactly. That was it. That's my protagonist moment for the episode. Chris takes on to our antagonist moment, our 7 moment from the episode.
Yes. So I'm gonna take the big one.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
Absolutely.
We see, I originally called it the real Stormfront versus female. But it's actually just more about the real Stormfront. We're getting to see the woman behind the mask, if you will. I'm using a lot of superhero analogies. In the fight, or the chase of, Kamiko and Mouse, or Kenji, his real name, and Stormfront. Mm-hmm. We see Stormfront killing everyone. Yeah. For first, she just throws them through the window of this African American family, and basically it's like a mother, a father, I think 2 kids, and I was like, oh, okay, like just collateral damage. And then the first instance, like the father is shouting at Stormfront and she just electrocutes him.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh. And then as it continues, mm-hmm. like we just see this wanton destruction and death. Yeah. And Stormfront just like does not care about collateral damage. She is in it for the win and is just destroying innocent bystanders left, right. Now, very quick one. Have a look. Everyone killed is a person of color.
Yes, absolutely. Everyone killed is a person of color. And importantly, you mentioned about the father being killed with lightning as she arrives, and that might have been collateral damage to get him out of the way. But then she stops, turns around, and kills the rest of the family. You hear them all screaming for her to leave, and then they're silenced. Then she goes throughout the rest of this. It's a tenement building that she's going through. She goes throughout the rest of the building, throwing people out windows and blowing up floors worth of people that are living in this building. So it's absolutely there on the screen for you to interpret that she's racist at that point. But it's the moment when she goes and kills Kenji, what she says to him, you know, oh, hang on a second, there's a different motivation in here with this character. It's not about getting to the end goal. It's about killing as many people of color as possible because she clearly thinks of them as absolutely different to herself and the rest of the people around.
And it's also, she's sadist here. You know, I like to see the eyes go out and look at me. You know, this idea of she wants to see that life drain from him. So she takes pleasure in killing other people of color.
Exactly.
Which is the frightening thing here, in this for sure. And, evil.
So the one thing is I was expecting, so as I had already called out in episode 1 when they kind of introduced, I did Chris's Corner and I kind of gave you the history of Stormfront. Mm-hmm. I was kind of expecting them to maybe hold off a bit or to slowly tease that she was a racist and like that they just went full for it. And again, this is very much The Boys.
It's The Boys, yeah.
So I was expecting it. I don't know. I was expecting it, but I wasn't expecting it. You know, that's contradictory.
We have talked about this before, Chris.
Yes. Right now, I am Schrodinger's audience.
Yeah.
I was expecting it and wasn't.
But you did ask the question earlier on in the episode here why they chose to put out 3 episodes, these first 3 episodes specifically, on the first day. And the whole reason is because you get an entire arc of Stormfront here. You know, we'll talk a little bit more about her and what happens in the episode with her, but there are genuine moments in these first 3 episodes where you're going, she's hilarious. She's fantastic.
Yeah, exactly.
I love this character. This is hilarious. Oh, hang on a second. She is an evil woman.
She's got that dark side to her.
And it does leave that question in your head at the end of this episode. My question is definitely, who's worse? Homelander, who thinks he's above every single person on the planet and is willing to kill anybody and doesn't really matter to him because everybody's beneath him, or somebody who's much more targeted like Stormfront, who specifically will go out after people of color, kill them and watch the life drain out of their eyes because she enjoys killing them. You know what I mean? Like, Homelander will kill anybody that gets in his way, but he's not doing it out of a specific malice. He just doesn't care about them. Whereas she specifically cares to kill people of color and look at them as they die. That's
exactly.
A different type of evil there.
And we know that with Homelander, it's a god complex that he has. Mm-hmm. That's the thing. He has a god complex. She has a race complex, effectively, in her view of how she will view collateral damage or simply murdering people.
Exactly.
So
it's like she takes the opportunity that she has to murder people.
Exactly.
And cover it up as collateral damage.
And just coming on the Homelander thing, I did really like that moment where he comes onto the roof and says, I said he was mine. And she just goes, you snooze, you lose, Gramps. Mm-hmm. And you see Anthony Starr's face as, you know, she is getting the accolades for taking down this super villain, in quotes, and stealing that limelight from Homelander. It really pisses him off. Yeah. You can see that in his face. And I'm really going to enjoy that dynamic because it might be just the case where people root for Homelander, that he is not selective about who he kills. He just kills anyone.
Yeah.
He is the definition of being sociopathic, I suppose, rather than racist sociopathic in that sense. Exactly. But who knows? It's kind of a very... they're both as bad as one another.
They're both evil, but which one's more evil?
Yeah, exactly.
I think they'll do Better the Devil You Know as a kind of the remaining episodes. So the boys will have to kill Stormfront because they know Homelander, they know how to deal with him, they don't know how to deal with a crazy racist soup. I am interested to see if they go full Nazi, which I get the feeling they're going to now, just based on what happens in this. But I just thought it was really, really good. And also it's giving the female huge motivation for this season. Yeah. Because not only is there, like, you killed my brother, you tortured my brother, you asphyxiated him while watching it, you broken his hands and arms. Yeah. Then
that was so gruesome.
And you did it for racist reasons. And not like to bring him in because he was a soup villain kind of terrorist.
I have to say, I loved Kamiko's angry face as she's kind of glaring at the TV with Stormfront on it, and that the glint of revenge in her eyes. I cannot wait to see that. Yeah. The interesting thing I thought about the battle between Kamiko and Stormfront as well was it felt how unpowered Kamiko was against Stormfront, actually. That was just kind of an observation from my side. I felt that, you know, is Stormfront that much more powerful than Kamiko? And then the other thing is, on Stormfront, is it just lightning bolts that she does, or can she summon the wind and all that kind of stuff?
Is she like Storm?
Like Storm, I wonder. Because at the moment it just seems like it's lightning bolts. Yeah. In which case, she's the Emperor from Star Wars. She's nothing to do with weather systems.
Like, well, he ran a universe, so that's pretty powerful.
Yeah, right? Exactly. Oh my goodness.
As far as I remember, it was more just lightning, thunder, that type of thing. She's invulnerable, super strength, and lightning.
Yeah. So she can do the clap of thunder kind of thing as well.
Yeah, it's just kind of like Hulk smash clap.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Cool.
But I don't think they're going down that route. I think this is just that she has like certain vulnerability, the power of flight, and can shoot lightning out of her fingertips. Yeah. But now, when you get lightning at the fingertips, you get additional kind of auxiliary powers there as well, because essentially you're one massive conduit of energy.
Interesting.
So, but yes, on Kamiko being underpowered. Now, I think it was just more that they'll say, well, she was taken like by surprise. She didn't know what was happening, and this will. But yes, Kamiko should be nigh invulnerable and. Or at least as the same level, but she is super, super strong and vicious.
Yeah.
It's all going to lead up to this great fight between these two, I hope.
Well, I think what you both mentioned as well, like, the end of the episode is Stormfront on TV getting all the accolades, Homelander on one side looking at her going, hang on a second, don't like that, and Kamiko on the other side watching it on TV. So I think what they're teasing here, you'll talk about one of the other elements in the episode about this. I think what they're teasing here is the team up between Kamiko and Homelander versus Stormfront.
Oh, that would be awesome.
They combine their powers effectively versus Stormfront. So take out, as you say, join the devil you know to take out the devil you don't, who's much worse. So that's what it felt like there. We have those two characters both now have a reason to take down Stormfront. So Homelander always uses whatever's around him to get what he wants done as well. So maybe he'll be using Kamiko to take out her, or vice versa. So that's what I thought on that part. So is that it for the point about Stormfront from the episode?
It really is. It's because it's gonna. It was sorry, and I did not mean to go on for so long, but it was kind of it's a big juicy bit. But speaking of big juicy bits, John, do you want to tell us your 7?
Matron! I've never been introduced like that before on a podcast. Breaking news, everyone! The herd of cats are absolutely out of the bag with the reveal of Compound V to the press in terms of not only its existence, but also its use, that superheroes are made in post-birth and not created. So really, really interesting. I loved this. I loved the start of Ashley getting the text and sort of having this panic attack.
Hilarious.
I loved Edgar's calmness as everyone's flapping around him, with everyone reporting about the stocks being sold off, that they've stopped trading, that all the different connotations, and he's calmly looking at the next way to try and distract the kitty that is the press with the laser pointer. Over here. Look at this distraction. Let's go after the supervillain. And I really liked all of that. And I like the little touches with Maeve's dad being interviewed saying, well, we never got any money. And then cut back to Maeve talking about how her dad was basically just this money whore for Vought, taking her to different malls to do appearances and all of this.
3 appearances in a day.
Exactly.
To get money to go out and gamble.
Like, it's just a nice little touch to see, you kind of do feel Maeve's story is becoming more tragic throughout the whole of these episodes at the moment. And certainly with all of this, it's massive. It's Starlight and Huey's plan coming together. You have that moment where as soon as it breaks, A-Train is there on Starlight saying, what did you do? And her, again, just linking in A-Train to her, keep your enemies closer. Well, you're a part of it as well because you let me go. And I think the final thing on this for me in terms of this breaking news is Edgar coming to the 99th floor to see the 7 and him kind of owning up that he doesn't come to the 99th floor that often or not often enough. And Homelander, his riposte to Edgar from episode 1, where he goes up to Edgar's floor and is basically just slapped down. And you have Edgar being slapped down here by Homelander to say, look, we don't care about Vought, but we'll go off and do this. And if it's Vought that is controlling us at the end of the day, so be it. But if it's someone else, who cares? Yeah. Really putting Edgar kind of back in his place.
Absolutely. This does feel like a Superman moment, doesn't it?
Yes.
It's companies come and go, but heroes are here forever.
Yeah, exactly.
Real talent is here
really
forever.
Good.
Is the line, isn't it?
Loved it.
Yeah. I have to say, like, looking around the reactions of the Seven as well to the news is really interesting, isn't it? Because obviously, Starlight is aware of the fact that they're created. She's been aware since season 1. Homelander's aware of it as well. Maeve didn't know this information up until now, because you see her reaction going, well, clearly my dad actually did know about it. Now that I think back on my life, I know what's happened. We have that lovely scene, really sad scene with Black Noir on the floor, crying his eyes out at the news as it's playing on his phone. And then you have the Deep, who's been going through this recovery process for the last couple of episodes, sitting there going, I've been, horrifically scarred by what's happened from what Vought did to me. I've had this problem for the many, many years where I can't treat other people with respect because I have these gills in my body. And you're telling me now that this isn't something I was born with, that this is something that somebody else chose for me? You mean I don't have to be this way? I really liked how they went around each of them and had their reactions to the situation.
Definitely.
And whereas A-Train's reaction is, don't mess with the money. He's kind of going, this could be it. This could be the end of everything that I've built for myself, and remember how hard he's been fighting to keep that all the way through season 1 and into season 2 now. He will fight to keep this money and the life that he's attained for himself, but Annie's now taking it away from him. So,
yeah. I think the other thing, just to build on the Deep thing that you said, was, there is that really interesting moment, and of course it'll probably get picked up in later episodes, where the Deep has sent forth Sharks and Lucy the Whale to stop the boys, this entry back into the Seven, as Carol is saying, this is your chance. And Homelander there, right at the end, says, you hold back here, because technically he's not part of the Seven yet, but he just says, and cover up your gills. They're disgusting. And there's a great moment with the Deep just kind of processing that, which I can't wait to see, to be honest. But anyway, that was just a little build there on how the Deep kind of responds to it.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm going to take it back one step and just talk about A-Train's reaction, right? Yeah. Because what was interesting for me was the riposte, if you will, back to, as he's just about to leave, to Starlight, where he says, you're saying that as someone with money, or someone who says with money, who grew up, who had it, when they were growing up. So a lot of it stems, and we saw parts of this with his brother, from season 1, but obviously they grew up poor, but we didn't get that full sense in season 1 that he grew up kind of without, too much. It was just he had to fight for what he wanted, and now that he's a superstar, he wants to keep it. Yeah. But they really seem to be zeroing in on that.
Yeah, I think the background, and remember the revelation, as well as the Compound V revelation that's on the news here, is that their parents all knew about it, and the parents all got paid for it and taken care of effectively. So, while Annie doesn't seem to be from elite society, she certainly grew up in the white picket fence type of home. The way that Eric Kripke has described A-Train in the show is effectively an elite athlete that, because of the skills and abilities that he's had, has pulled himself out of his environment effectively. We see it a couple of times, even in this episode. We see the kind of gang of people that he hangs around with, all of them drinking all the time, all of them partying all the time on his money. So that's what we're seeing with the A-Train storyline, really, is that he is someone that's come from a background where, if he didn't have the powers that he has, he may have gone down a very different path, is the way that they're kind of dealing with his character in the show.
We also learned that they were paid. The parents were paid for this.
Parents were paid, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it feels like absolutely he has more to lose than everybody else.
And the endorsement element of all of the Seven is really focused on A-Train. It's like he's milking everything that he can do, running shoes, jogging outfits, sports days, leisure centers, whatever. He will do it, and he's happy to effectively sell himself off to get this attention, profile, and get in the cash.
Yeah, but I suppose this will really play out over the next kind of couple of episodes. It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah. I've got one last thing on this moment that we have with Stan Edgar coming up to the Seven and talking to them. It's the fact that it's the Seven, and Homelander calls it out. Homelander leaves that office going, "We're the Seven. We're the superheroes that will save the country from the supervillain." Right? He actually says the Seven. I counted them. There's only 6. So,
yes, exactly.
And he didn't know the Deep was coming. He didn't know. The Deep got a tip off and came and arrived with them. Why is he still calling them the Seven when they don't have a replacement for the Deep?
It's all about branding.
It is, but why isn't it now the 6? Or is he expecting somebody else to arrive to join them? Because it kind of goes, we're off, as the superhero unit, the 7. If they were called the Justice League, then you keep using the title, but the 7 is about the number of people that are behind you. There's only 5 other people and Homelander.
Yeah, but it's a transition phase, so they're not suddenly going to call them they didn't suddenly go now with the 4. It's still the 7.
Yeah.
Okay, but I'm going to start calling us TV podcast industries quartet. And literally, we never explained it. This is the episode where we're going to explain it. From now on, we are the TV podcast industries quartet, and that's it. Everyone will be like, "Well, where's the 4th? Why is there no 4th?" There you go. Inside joke.
We do have a 4th. Their superpower is they can't speak on microphones. There you go.
That's it.
So I have to edit them out every week. There you go.
But I think that kind of wraps up this point.
Yep.
Right, John? So let's move on to Derek. What is your point for this one?
I think I just need to talk about Homelander and Ryan in this episode because I genuinely found it hilarious, and I probably shouldn't have. This poor kid is being abused by his surrogate father that he's never seen before. But they have their breakfast, and Homelander is so creepy with the trying to make Becca, serve him with pancakes and serve him with the right amount of maple syrup and stuff. You could see Becca's skin is crawling as he's asking for her to serve him like she's his wife. She's just like, "Get out of my house, you creepy man." And Ryan seems to be feeling like that. And then he has that moment where Homelander says, "Come outside and play, or you could sit here and learn Spanish, or you could come outside and play with me," basically. And his version of play is trying to teach Ryan how to fly. Poor Ryan. I was expecting him to need to go to hospital because he's effectively just thrown off the roof. I kind of thought that's what he was going to go for. Homelander would actually throw him up in the air and expect him to fly. I'm glad he didn't, because the quick push to Ryan, where he lands face first on the ground, is probably enough to encourage him not to want to try flying again. But it seems like the conviction from Homelander that "you're my son, you must have the same superpowers as me," seems to be it seems to be wrong. I know we do have the moment, which I'll talk about in a second, that Ryan does have superpowers, but his absolute conviction that the superpowers that his son has is the same as him seems really odd. It's probably just the overconfidence of Homelander. He's the most powerful of the superheroes, I think, is what we've learned over the course of the last 2 seasons.
Yeah.
He's got the most powers of everybody. That's why he's the leader. But every other supe has had different powers to Homelander. So why is he so convinced that Ryan will definitely be able to fly? None of the rest of them can fly, as far as I remember.
Maeve. And Stormfront.
No, Maeve can't fly. She was carried from the plane by Homelander in season 1, remember? So Stormfront uses an ability that she has to hover, kind of thing, I think. Have we seen that at all?
Well, no, we've seen her fly. So
right, okay. So Stormfront is a new superhero who can fly as well, but nobody else can. So his conviction that his son will have the exact same superpowers as him, because this was supposed to be an impossibility of him being able to have a son as well.
Yes,
I thought the revelation was going to be, as I think I mentioned earlier on in the season, I thought the revelation was going to be this is actually Billy Butcher's son, or the Vought had done something here to create this child, but it wasn't necessarily Homelander's. So. Yeah.
But I think this is tying in, it's the counterpoint to the breaking news that all Vought superheroes are made, not created, and born with the powers. He's that exception to the rule. And I suspect that Homelander's just going, well, it's the genetics of it. It's the hereditary passing of these superpowers. And I mean, I think we saw the red eyes at the end of episode 1. So I've never thought that he's not had powers and that he was going to be unpowered.
Yeah.
It was just that what are the suite of powers that he has.
Yeah.
And I think I love seeing Ryan lose his thing here and get the red eye, and just, shows there's his powers, and he's certainly got them, and he's certainly going to use them.
I hear Chris coughing for entry here. Chris wants to be told he got something right this season. Well done, Chris.
Oh, sorry, something in my throat. Come on!
Congratulations, Chris. Chris did predict that there was going to be a moment where there would be a standoff between the characters, between Homelander and his mom, and that Ryan would step up. So, yes, well done, Chris. You're absolutely right. Yeah, there's definitely a step up there.
I forgot about that. Sorry, Chris. That's why there was kind of silence from my side. But yeah, I loved the standoff between the two here. It was really good because it just puts Ryan in his own space.
Absolutely.
He loves his mom. He's the quieter. He hasn't got the ego that Homelander's trying to force on him by this daddy act that he's doing. I like the fact as well in the storm drain, he kind of really tries to lay it on thick with Billy about having pancakes with his wife, as Billy then sends forth and unleashes Kenji on him, which was pretty cool as well.
Cool I like that Kenji also took the opportunity to get away there as well. It's quite good. But I suppose my final point on this is, if you're going to test your son to see if he has superpowers, why not give him a baseball and see if he can throw it really far in the air rather than throwing him off the roof of a house? That's a good way to kind of build up to your superpowers, maybe. That's it on our antagonist moments. Let's get on to our final moment, the other moment, the outstanding moments from the episode. Chris, anything was outstanding to you that we haven't talked about?
Very, very quick one is the Dawn of the Seven pitch.
Yeah, sounded very like a Dawn of Justice, didn't it?
Just almost slightly.
Yeah,
interesting,
exactly.
isn't it? Because we are the Seven. Hans Zimmer. Literally, it's just like, I was like, oh, well done. You're slagging Zack Snyder in a very, very nice way.
Do you know what I really liked about the pitch as well, Chris? Well, I love that you picked this point. The one thing I really loved about the pitch is this is the pitch for the trailer for the upcoming movie. This isn't a pitch for a movie. This is a pitch for the trailer for the upcoming movie, which I just think is hilarious.
And we're going to have Homelander come in, and then Maeve, and he's going to slap the handcuffs on him, and it was just like, so look, that was really it. It was just good good old-fashioned kind of ribbing of superhero culture, superhero films, the overall corporacy of it. And as you said, it was this is not the pitch of the film, this is the pitch for the trailer of the film, which they haven't even filmed yet. Yeah,
exactly. And I love that it cuts to Stormfront, and she's got the 500-page script, and there's notes on every single page. You can see she's like,
definitely.
This is absolute crap. Let's just take it back to the bones and start it again. Her response to him going, well, the way you write female characters is either a Hitchcock unattainable woman or a Michael Bay type Transformers woman, you need to write characters that are realistic. And he goes, well, excuse me, I have sisters. As if that justifies how badly he writes women. Really.
That was it. It's like, but that was the one. That was the line that got me, because that's the go-to. Well, I have a gay friend. My best friend's gay. And I'm like, oh, no, you don't say that. That's not an excuse. Anyway.
If a woman is telling you you're writing for a woman is bad, then you probably should listen to them rather than try to defend yourself. But
it's interesting that they're still trying to make Stormfront a good person at that point in the episode. And then it's just towards the end that you're like, oh, no. But anyway, that was my kind of outstanding moment. John, what was for yourself?
It was just the scene between Queen Maeve and Homelander at the Vought Tower. Like with the phone call that she's having with Elena. It was just so tense and intimidating. And I literally thought he was going to kind of crush her hand, break her wrists in that moment, that he could sense that she was lying. And ultimately saved by the breaking news, because up until this point, Homelander has been with Becca and Ryan, and he doesn't know of the breaking news. So it's just how great Homelander, his insertion into a scene immediately for me just tenses the whole thing up. And certainly when he's so calm and casual, Oh, why have I never heard of her? Who's Elena? And Maeve's having to kind of just think on her feet here. And it was just so good. And that's my big point. It's just really great little scene between the two, which is tense and really intimidating from Homelander. And I thought there was going to be more violence from Homelander here.
Yeah, I think the biggest, most threatening thing that Homelander can say is, "You're my only friend."
Yes, exactly.
Like, that's not a good thing. And you can't have any other friends either. Yeah, it feels, you're right, really tense, really intimidating, really good moment. And for my one, I just want to call out A-Train once again in this episode. It's really being highlighted. He's not on a good path. We see him with his friends partying till the middle of the daytime, and as he walks out of the nightclub and it's bright outside, we see the heart problem starting to come back effectively. At the end of season 1, A-Train taken off to hospital because he had effectively collapsed from the use of his powers. We see it here and that scene, and we also see it when he's supposed to be running into the tunnels to find the boys when the Seven are chasing them down. They're using his power to run through the tunnels to go and find the Seven, and he has to stop after a couple of minutes because his heart problems are coming back. So that's interesting. Wondering what's going to happen with that. We also see Homelander recognize it as well, because A-Train says to him, "Oh, I'm fine, just give me a second," and Homelander responds with, "Oh, of course you are." Very knowingly there. So intrigued to see what will happen with A-Train in the future. And it's definitely something that they were underlining here. Yeah,
and also in the Storm Drain as well, just I think to call out, the big choice that Starlight has to do with Huey, where Homelander is kill him, because he comes to that moment where the two of them are there and he goes, "You two again?" And the tweak of doubt that maybe she's still got some feelings towards Huey, and ultimately goes, "Let me make this easier for you. Either you kill him or I kill you both."
Exactly.
And then you get Billy Butcher just stepping up to help Huey. You see that kind of look between them as he unleashes Kenji on him. So again, just another moment there, because right at the end as well, where he's got those doubts at the big press conference over Stormfront taking all the limelight. He's looking at Starlight, kind of, "Don't trust you now." But it's seemingly he's not going to trust anyone in the Seven, because you've got Stormfront taking the limelight, that conversation with Queen Maeve. He knows about A-Train's heart problems. The doubts have come back on Starlight. Effectively, I think at this moment in time, the only person he may have no doubts about is Black Noir. And that might be an interesting thing that they develop within this season as well.
All of this in an episode where he tells Stan Edgar, "Vought doesn't matter, we're the Seven," and tells them all, "You're my friends, you're my family," effectively. And then by the end of the episode, that all seems to be, falling apart a bit. So, very cool.
Definitely.
That's it for our big moments for the episode. Big episode with this third one. Lots of stuff kind of coming to a head. Again, understandable why this is the big cliffhanger they want to leave you with to get you to come back for next week's episode. Any notes we haven't talked about at all, guys?
The one I want to quickly call out, you mentioned at the beginning of the episode, is if you are watching this on your laptop, if you're watching it on your TV, The Boys is imbued with X-Ray, the feature. We bring it up every season, and most episodes. They have some great trivia in there. Usually it's stuff that we'll actually mention anyway, but as you're watching, as you're listening, make sure you just pop in. Always do it after the fact. It's usually just go, so like watch the full episode, then jump into X-Ray and have a look. But it's good fun.
Yeah, definitely some good things in there. I noticed this episode was definitely sponsored by Budweiser, because we had Kenji wearing a t-shirt with Spuds McKenzie on the front of it, who used to be the Bud Light mascot when we were a lot younger, wondering what Bud Light tasted like. I remember the mascot being Spuds McKenzie. Also the advert that Mallory was looking at, that had the old soup on it, that she calls out, which we'll possibly talk about in a second. That was an old Budweiser print ad as well. So Budweiser definitely sponsoring Amazon Prime this episode.
Yeah.
So if that's it for notes, anybody else have any? No, nothing else. Will we pop over to Chris's corner for the question then? Mallory asks Billy, does he know an old soup called Liberty? So I'll ask the same question to you, Chris, for Chris's corner. Do you know an old soup called Liberty at all?
No.
Interesting.
I'm going to jump in and go, no. So I dived back in. There's a couple of hundred issues in this series called The Boys. And I was like, am I forgetting something? Is this one of the passerbys? So looking at the age of the ad, and like we're going, okay, looks like World War II era kind of ad around then. So what I have a feeling is Liberty is going to have been one of the invaders. Or basically was a hero around the time of World War II, one of the explosion of the first heroes. Now, there are a few other things. If you look at the costume, there's some striking similarities to Stormfront's current piece.
Okay.
We do know that Stormfront in the comic books was a Nazi in World War II, and because of Compound V, they age differently sometimes,
right?
Or a lot of the time. So he is the same. He looks exactly the same from World War II when he does in the current time of the 90s of the Boys,
right?
In the comic books.
Yeah.
So it's the same Stormfront. So potentially, the fact they talked about Vought doing his initial experiments back in World War II. Maybe Stormfront is actually one of the first test subjects.
Okay.
She's just continued, so it explains why she's a Nazi. She came over with Vought. Maybe she is just the product of Vought is still doing all the stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe she is we know that Homelander maybe isn't the first one to give birth.
Maybe.
To successfully. So maybe Liberty was a soup from back in the day, and she was secretly a Nazi, came over, because there's a lot of Nazis that came over and became part of the soup kind of infrastructure that is Vought. So maybe Liberty was one of them, and Stormfront is the daughter of Liberty.
Right. But nothing concrete from the comic books that we know right now based on that particular piece that Mallory was saying.
Like that, no.
Right. So possibly in the show, it's that someone that is giving information to Mallory potentially from the show, but nothing specific from the comic books. Okay.
Exactly. The closest is going to be Lamplighter, but Lamplighter is not till season 3. So that would be it. There is something, a very similar ad in the comic books that uses the character Lamplighter.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, but that is Chris's Corner. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, if you want me to deep dive into any particular questions, remember to email us at feedback@tvpodcastindustry.com, and I will jump in and I will give it in the following episodes.
Excellent. Hopefully there'll be more Chris's Corner next episode. Thanks for that. Guys, let's just close out our overall thoughts on the episode, on episode 3 of season 2. What did you think? For me, it's accomplished its goal. It made me really want to come back for episode 4. That's exactly what it needs to do. So much cool stuff in this episode. The boat through a whale is not something I'll ever forget from an episode, but loads of other great stuff in here as well. So yeah, delighted to go back to episode 4 next week. John, what do you think?
Yeah, loved it. I give this 4.5 Lucy sushi rolls out of 5. Yeah, it was really good. I do feel, a boat through a whale is fairly epic. I mean, it certainly is a few sizes up from the dolphin accident in season 1.
Don't hang out with the deep if you're a fish.
Exactly. I loved everything about this episode. Homelander with the family, Homelander with Maeve, Homelander with Stormfront, the reveal of Stormfront just to be an evil bitch, is like, oh, okay, because I was really kind of liking her directness, and so all of a sudden she's just this psycho, and Huey and Billy's relationship, I think, is really great. I like the antagonism between the two, but I like that there is that seed of hope with Billy protecting him from Starlight's forced execution of him at the hands of Homelander, I suppose, because I mean she certainly did strike up a light as well in that moment, so Billy came to the rescue, so maybe there's a little way back to them being the best of friends again. Let's see how that works out. Chris, what did you think of episode 3?
I loved it. I'm right there with Derek in terms of it straight away did exactly what I wanted it to. In other words, I was like, why isn't it next Friday? I want episode 4 now. So yeah, it worked fantastically, and that's really all I can say about it. I want to know more. I want to watch each episode, and I'm glad we'll be waiting a week because we can really digest it, but yeah, bring it on. Bring it on. I think it's about time we go for a pint, boys.
Yes, I think I need a pint after this. Welcome, fellow boys and girls, to the Boys Pub Quiz. These are questions about each episode throughout our discussion of this series. If you know the answer, you have the answer. You go back and rewatch the episode to find the answer. Please send it on in to feedback@tvpodcastindustries.com. You can also just send your rake of answers in one go if you so wish, whichever way is best for you. And of course, this will ultimately lead to a scale model of a boat inserted into a whale as one of the grand prize. No, we haven't actually decided yet, and we need to very quickly by episode 4 so that we can provide our fellow boys and girls with the prizes for this pub quiz and the questions.
Absolutely. Everybody's searching the internet looking for the boys' items that we can send out as goodies for the show, right? Get looking. John, what's the question for this episode?
Yeah, the question is, what is the name of the boat that the boys are on?
Nice.
Yes. What is the name of the boat that the boys are on? Answers on the electronic postcard through our email, and yeah, you will be in with a chance of winning some goodies, some boys' goodies.
The boat owned by a friend. Well, a stranger. A stranger is just a friend you haven't met yet. Absolutely great line.
So good.
Love it. Let's get on to some feedback. We got some feedback in since the episodes were released yesterday on Amazon Prime. We got some feedback in from our awesome boys and girls. First up, a voicemail about episode 1 from Steve Brown.
Hey guys, it's Steve, and this is for the first episode of The Boys Season 2. Wow, so much packed into this one episode. That was that opening scene with Black Noir and seeing him fight, and then seeing kind of his powers, I guess, of healing that he has, that even survived that nuclear blast and then killed the soup terrorist, and he takes the head to Translucent's kid and shows it to him with the bunny. I was just, oh my goodness, this show has just started right back where it was, and it's nice to see that we don't have to guess about Homelander. Of course, it didn't take us long in the first season to figure out that Homelander wasn't a nice guy, but to see that he still kept keeping up his being a jerk sort of shenanigans is good to see, and that whole scene with Blind Spot and stuff. But yeah, just so much good stuff. Sad to see Raynor go, and it's kind of sad to see that Huey and Annie are not together. But I think maybe by the end of the season, maybe they'll be back together. I don't know. We'll see. It seems like there still might be a little spark there between them. And do you think there's something with Giancarlo Esposito's character that he has some sort of hold over Homelander? Because it really seemed like Homelander would have done something to him, or would have at least threatened him, like physically or with his powers, and he didn't. So I'm going to watch episode 2 here in a little bit, and I'll send a voicemail for that one. Talk to you later.
Thanks so much, Steve. Yeah, it's the Boys is like a well-worn glove, isn't it? It fits snugly back on, and we end up being right back where we left off from season 1 with Homelander being Homelander, just what he brings. And agreed, I loved that scene in the first episode between Homelander and Edgar. And you're just kind of thinking, why is he holding back? You know that this guy doesn't hold back. I mean, he is smart as well, and he won't just, he will kill out of sight. You know, he will have the excuse.
Yeah.
And a bit like as we see with Stormfront in this episode, killing every person in the tenement block just simply because she's chasing the supervillain. It's collateral damage. The true intention is lost. So
Secured. Yes.
I think, I thought the same thing. And I think, you know, maybe we see a bit of an unraveling of that in episode 3, given the breaking news about Vought and Compound V. So really good feedback. Thanks so much, Steve.
Yes, thank you so much, Steve. Appreciate it as always. In terms of the hold, I think you see more and more as we kind of go on, especially now in episode 3. I do get the feeling that, Edgar there will be some additional element of Edgar that we've yet to see. He's not going to be a soup, but he's going to be, the evil corporate entity, if you will.
Yeah. Exactly.
So there will be something there.
Yeah, he has the protection of being head of the company on his side. He's massively confident, as we've seen. So, really interesting character. Great to see him on the show as well. Thanks, Steve. I know you'll be back for the voicemail of episode 2 in a moment. Also on episode 1 over on our Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/TV podcast industries, Salim Kislar has posted his thoughts about episode 1. He says the 2 bloody moments stick out to me most. What Homelander did to Blind Spot and what happened to Raynor were diabolical. Wow. Though I'm not sure exactly what happened to Raynor. If it was a sudden exploding bullet in the head, why did her nose start bleeding? Did someone plant a bomb in her, a la Suicide Squad? I hope this is explained in future episodes. I like Homelander forcing this issue with Vought on things he doesn't agree with. There's a great continuation of his conversation with Maeve from last year about why they listen to Suits. And his pushing of the supervillain term is hilarious. I also enjoyed the bit with Gecko. Love the 3rd and 4th tier super characters this show mixes in with the likes of Mesmer from season 1. I'm looking forward to what's next and listening to the episode 1 podcast. Thanks so much, Salim. Great to have you back with us.
Yeah, thanks, Salim. Really good to get your thoughts on that. I need to now go back because I can't remember that conversation you mentioned with Maeve from Homelander about why they listen to Suits, because that may explain, of course, why Homelander doesn't just laser Edgar into a melted human candle. On the death of Raynor, we haven't got any more detail about how the death happened. I thought it was that in this episode that Kenji's power effectively, that they've tracked him down and that they've said he's the supervillain, so maybe he's the one that used his power to crush her head, and that's why her nose bled, but that's not there on the screen. We might see that in a future episode. So lots more stuff to learn about Raynor. Thanks so much for your feedback, Salim.
Yes, thank you so much, Salim. We also got some feedback from Dr. Bob Phillips, who's had this to say. I'd forgotten how much blood and sex and downright self-centered misogyny was wrapped up in the evil of the 7. Brilliant reintroduction. My soup moment? Can't decide if it's the clap to deafen Blind Spot or the bottle of milk. Or the sweetness of a tube train. Or the downright dripping misery of a Fresca hangover. Or catching the half pint of your lifeblood in your own pint glass. The boys' moment has to be Harry Potter. How better can you capture the essence of little Huey? Cute, nerdy, intense, and completely one jump sideways of cool. I'm going to say one leap. One massive leap.
Just a little jump. Just a little. If anybody else, he'd be cool.
Yes. Thank you so much, Bob. Always great to have your feedback. And I'm going to go, Harry Potter, I completely forgot.
He is.
Katniss.
Yeah.
It was interesting because he makes the joke about the Katniss from Hunger Games, and obviously he was in the Hunger Games, the first film.
That's right. Yeah, I completely forgot about him in there.
Yeah, me too.
Yep, I've completely forgotten about all those films.
Exactly. I'm like,
Me three.
except for Stanley Tucci as the kind of host of the show of the Hunger Games. He was so over the top and colourful. I thought he was awesome. Certainly in his pronunciation of Katniss Everdeen.
Hilarious.
Yeah,
very
lovely.
good. That is another path that we've gone down in these episodes. Let's get on to some more feedback. Steve Brown sent in his feedback on episode 2.
Hello again, TV Podcast Industries. This is Steve. This is for episode 2 of season 2 of The Boys. I was like, wait, what was I just watched it. This is a great episode for the female. I mean, we learn a little bit more about her. We see her, obviously she recognized her brother right away in that when she saw that video and was trying to communicate that to Frenchie, and just absolutely loved that whole what we got to see from her, and then her realization that her brother was whether he was brainwashed by this shining path, shining light, whatever they're called, or what. So it's going to be interesting to see how this turns out. Is she's going to be okay with giving her brother over to Mallory? Was the deal struck with Mallory real? We'll see. And of course, the future going forward with Huey. I was glad that he got in the van there at the end. I was a little worried that he was just going to walk away because he really has nowhere to go. We don't know what's happening with his father. Starlight seems to have either rejected him or definitely doesn't want to be with him right now. But I did, and that was another, I'm really questioning this Stormfront. I don't know. There's something about just her whole persona and the fact that she's so anti-Vought, and Vought is letting her be anti-Vought, that has me a little bit hesitant to believe it. So, also, and the Deep, I swear I didn't get a chance to watch the credits, and I looked on IMDb, but I could not find it. I swear that sounded like Patton Oswalt's voice for the Gills, but I couldn't find any confirmation on that. So, all right, I'm about to watch episode 3. Talk to you later.
Excellent, Steve. Yeah, thanks so much for the feedback.
Yes, thank you so much, Steve. And that was 100% patent. He even confirmed it yesterday. Because if it was not him, I would have eaten my own toe, because I know his voice.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think his quote on Twitter he put out, I have recorded the most messed up moment of my career. I think I can say it definitively now, after the episode was released. So definitely Patton Oswalt, yeah.
Yeah, thanks so much, Steve, for the feedback.
Yeah, there really was really touching moments there with Kamiko and her brother in episode 2. It was really nice to have those moments between the two of them where we actually have her having a full conversation with somebody else in that episode. I thought it was really well put together, just to kind of give a bit more of her character, not just the violent female from season 1.
Definitely.
A bit more of what she would have been like with her brother. I love the relationship between the two of them where both of them are saying, well, I saved you this time and you saved me that time. There's like this kind of dependency between the two. So I wonder after episode 3 how far that's going to push Kamiko over the edge.
Yeah, absolutely. We also have some feedback on episode 2 from Salim Akisla, and he says, I love Stormfront. The boys need to find a way to rein Billy in. When he gets that tunnel vision, he's a danger to everyone. Interesting game of mutually assured destruction between A-Train and Starlight. Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. If I'm going down, you're going down.
Yeah,
no, if I'm going down, you're going down.
And certainly with hints of skin being peeled off the screaming, wriggling body by Homelander. Yeah. And certainly I'm really interested, Salim, to see your thoughts on Stormfront from episode 3. So please keep the feedback coming in. It's great to get these discussion points for sure.
Definitely. I wonder what you think of Stormfront now, yeah.
Exactly. She's still a great character because it is that amazing thing of being lulled in. It's all, as Steve said as well, about she's so anti-Vought or so challenging to Vought, and they're kind of allowing it. And like, as Salim says, that's what you like about her from episode 2. She says what she thinks. And then we see her obviously in this episode doing what she thinks, which is horrific.
Yeah.
So, yeah, really good stuff. Also on the Facebook group, for TV Podcast Industries, Bob Phillips says, Soup moment, The Seven are falling apart. Is the rule of laser-edged steel going to end as addicts? Revolutionaries, anarchists, and closet-busting heroes ripped the finely woven cloth of PR aside. Yes, interesting. And for the boys' moment, Butcher finally cracks and opens up his soft, loving heart. He's a bulldog puppy who's got a tough exterior and a rough approach to life, biting while barking, but now we know he just wants his tummy tickling. Indeed. And plus, Kamiko, her sign language isn't BSL or ASL or even French, which is more what I'd be thinking in the Vietnam area. That was where they were brought up after kidnap, wasn't it?
I think so.
What is